Hi there, it's Catherine from Sunnyside Journals. I'm here today with a little thrift haul and also, hopefully if I have enough time, if I don't talk too much, with a little make stuff with me. And of course, as always, a little visit. If you're new here, welcome. If you're one of my regulars who likes to come and hang out here, welcome back. So last week, to explain my thrift haul, last week, my husband and I went on a cruise up the New England coast. So we sailed out of New York City, which was absolutely beautiful. We've done that before, and we crossed our fingers for beautiful weather, and boy, oh boy, did we get beautiful weather. It's a lovely thing to sail up the Hudson River, down the Hudson River, whichever direction is towards the ocean, up or down, that's the way we went. And it's just a stunningly beautiful thing to see Manhattan on one side and see the Statue of Liberty and all those wonderful, the bridges and that. Just an amazing thing to be able to do. We love it so much. We did the same thing as the last time we did this cruise. We got up extra early in the morning just so that we could watch it coming back in. Even though it was in the dark, it was pretty in its own way because everything is still, all the lights are going and twinkling, and even at, what time was it? 4:45 in the morning, I think. All the little ships are already crossing back and forth between New Jersey and Manhattan and Brooklyn. It was lovely, and we had a lovely time. We went up to the coast, and our first stop was Halifax, where we spent the day with some friends, and that was wonderful to see them again. And then the next port, there were only two ports where we stopped at. The next one was St. John, New Brunswick, and we've been to that port as well. So here's the angel that I'm married to. He said, well, why don't we see if there's any thrift stores in St. John for you? Well, you don't have to ask me that twice. So I made a list, and we got off the ship and hailed a cab, and off we went. We hit three thrift stores in St. John, New Brunswick. So, and I might remember where they all came from, all this stuff, and I might not. I had quite a few martinis. Here, I had quite a few of these on the ship. They were delicious. Anyhow, so let's go through what I got, and then hopefully we'll still have time to do a little work on something that I'm going to work on. And hopefully, my husband's just phoned me. He's on his way home from work. So, and if he comes in the door, the dog is going to bark her head off. She gets very excited when Daddy comes home. So I may have to hit pause, try and get them calmed down from seeing each other. It's always like, oh, where have you been all my life? And then I'll come back and finish this. Hopefully, fingers crossed. That's the plan. So, I went to St. John had a Mission thrift store, which is one of my favorites. And it also had a Value Village, which I don't always do very well at Value Village. And this time I did okay. And then a Salvation Army thrift store. So I got, I actually got one of these Martha Stewart edgers, lace edgers. And it was $1.50. It was $1.50. And I went to the cash register, and I actually said to the lady there, can I use a piece of paper and make sure it works? Because sometimes the reason these are donated is because they've become too dull and they've stopped working. And some people say if you punch it through foil that resharpens it, and I've never had that. All I've had is a horrible mess with foil clogged in the holes, and it's just, if it stops punching, to me, if it stops punching properly, it's because it's saying, I'm done. But this one punched beautifully. I was happy to find it. Very nice. I found a little pad of invoices. and it looks like only one or two was used. And it says here, hold on, let me make sure I've got it clear. Certified NSMA member, National Specialty Merchandisers Association. I thought that was fun. That was 59 cents. And there's a lot in there still. So that's great. I was happy to find that. This is a pad of notes, but it's double. See how there's two here? And look how beautiful they are. And they're embossed. If you can see the back, it's all embossed. So I was really thrilled to find those. Oh, I put my bill in there. I was really happy to find these hydrangea roses here. Yeah, I think they're roses as well. And anyhow, love that. Found a little counted cross stitch, and it looks like they look like pansies, sort of a little modern pansy. And I'll find something to do with that, whether it's a pocket on a larger book, or I'm not sure yet. 59 cents. Christmas gift tags. I'm not sure if I'll use these in some journals and actually use some on Christmas gifts. We'll see. I have yet to, believe it or not, I've been making junk journals for, I think, a couple of years now. And I haven't made a Christmas journal yet. So that's one of my goals this month, the month of November, is to make a Christmas journal. I have all kinds of books and papers and ephemera that I have collected. I have a closet full. I think I've got 40 little Christmas little golden books. I need to get to it. Last year, my New Year's resolution was to make one Christmas junk journal per month so that by November or December, I would have 12 ready to go in my Etsy shop. And yeah, I didn't even get one made. So I found an entire roll of tickets, and I love the color. Anyone who knows me knows that I love a warm mustardy yellow and red together. That's my favorite color combination. I did not pay $3. That's the store that it was originally bought at before it was donated. I got this Value Village. I think I paid $1.50 for it at Value Village. So there's a whole roll of, I love this color. So I'm happy to find that. I'll make use of those. I found, hold on, we'll go to this one in a second. I found this. It's not that old, but I have always wanted to do a Wizard of Oz junk journal. And I have been hunting and hunting now for a junk journal book, an old one, and people hang on to them. It's a good story. I'd hang on to it too if I had an old one. So this one appears to be 1987, and it's in beautiful condition. I'm still happy to make a journal out of this. It's got lovely illustrations in it. I am going to cut this up, and because I have my own paperback copy of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. So this one is, and this is such a nice size for a journal. Let's see what you are. Hold on. You are 6 3/4 by 9 1/4. That's a nice size. I will even do a hollow back spine on it because everything about this is very pretty. So I'm looking forward to making a journal out of that at some point. Hopefully this winter, if we get snowed in for the winter, then I'll have lots of time to make all the journals that I haven't made, because I'm still working on DIY. I'm still working on Infelicia. Yeah. This is the book that I found that I love. I found this at Value Village. I paid more than I usually pay. I paid, I think I paid $3.99 for it, Canadian. And it's just, oh, there's my The cruise gave me these. Oh, and there's my husband's dry cleaning ticket. All right. Anyhow, it's just got lovely, beautiful, interesting articles. Most of them are one-page articles, and they're all contained on the one page. It's just, I loved this page here. It's the poem of Winkin', Blinkin' and Nod. This is just beautiful. What year was it? 1923 is the last copyright date in it, but there's a lot of really early, the copyright dates listed for illustrations and various things that they borrowed to make this book. And this is number 1, and it was in very, very nice condition. They still had 2 others there, I think 14 and 16, that the covers were just in horrible condition. And looking back on it now, I kind of wish I'd got them. Junk journalers regret, buyer's regret, right? Or the opposite of buyer's regret, because I wish I'd bought them. Because the insides are so beautiful. I'm going to be able to use these for a long, long time. I'll use some when I remake this, and then some will go into other journals. So in a way, I wish I had got them, but in another way, you know, they had to fit in my luggage and me to fly back home again. And this book weighs a ton. So maybe everything happens for a reason, right? Someday when I do a tour of my studio here and I show you all the books that I've got here that need to be recreated into something beautiful, you'd all laugh at me. So anyhow, I had a few little things that I wanted to do to tulips. Tulips is right now available in my Etsy shop. Let me make sure I'm in focus because I want to sit down and work. There we go. Thank you, Kelly's husband, again. So I love this little book, and I've certainly had a lot of interest. Oh, there's my information on it. I've had so much interest. So many more people have messaged me wanting information on this little book than I think of almost any other book I've made, except for maybe the DIY one that I'm presently working on. But for some reason, Tulips is still with me, and I think there's a reason for that, is because, as I mentioned before, on a Happy Mail package from my, from my crafty crush, Nancy, it needed to have this fabric in it. So I think that's why the universe didn't send Tulips off to her new home yet, because Tulips needed this tulip fabric in her. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I'm also going to, again, thanks to my crafty crush, I'm going to put a trick-or-treat bag as a pocket in to Tulips. So let's make sure, first of all, that I'm centered here. I know how to do it. Then I know that I'm centered by putting my ugly little mat in the bag. So what I want to do is I want to put 2 journaling cards in, and I want to put a tulips ruffle down the edge of the journaling cards. And so I thought you could work with me while I do a tulips ruffle. So, and I do ruffles lots of different ways. And today, this is how I'm going to do my ruffle. So you can follow along with me. Now, hold on, I need a pin. Let's bring this closer. All right, so something that I do, if I'm just going to ruffle a little area, I think I'm going to put a ruffle along this edge here. Something that I will do is this square, for me, I have arthritis in my hands. I don't know if you've noticed the, anyhow. So something even as simple to some people as tearing fabric it's very hard for me to get a grip and tear the fabric. and especially on one of these tiny ones. A big piece of fabric is easier for me to tear than a little tiny square like this, but I can still get a nice torn look, and I'll show you how I do it. I will go along the edge with my pinking shears like this. So off you come. Thank you. And then I figure out how big I want my ruffle to be. I'm just eyeballing this. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, about there. There we go. All right, and then what I'll do, so that that edge doesn't look quite so perfect, is I will use a needle and just pull away at those threads to expose them. And just pull them off. Hopefully they will cooperate. Come on. I know this can seem labor intensive for such a small little detail, but if you're a fuss budget like me, those are the little things that I love. Because I always like to think, if I would do it in my own journal, would I do it in a journal for someone else? And of course the answer is yeah, especially a journal for someone else, because I'm sending this off to a new happy home, and I want the new owner to be as delighted with it, or more delighted than I was making it. So just keep using your little pin here and pulling away at those threads, and they'll come away. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right, pin back into the pin cushion. Now, something else I'll sometimes do if it's still looking too fresh is I'll use my sandpaper block, and I'll just sort of pull away at the edge with it, and that will fray it a bit more and age it a bit more. If you don't have a sandpaper block amongst your tools, I really, really recommend you get one. I don't think there's a day at my table here goes by that I don't use my sandpaper blocks for many different reasons. This is my fine sandpaper, and this is my rough one. And you can get them at your local dollar store. You can get them at your hardware store, wherever you can find an inexpensive one. Don't worry about getting the best sandpaper block out there. It doesn't have to be a fantastic one, but it will just wear off those threads a little bit more and just age it a little bit more. Again, silly little detail, but you're dealing with me here. I like this one because I can take out this sandpaper and add a new sheet. But you can buy the sponge-filled ones. I think you can still get them at the dollar store, and they're fine too. So what I'm going to do now is some days I am just too lazy to even get up and walk over to my sewing machine, which is across the room. And I'd rather just sit here and relax and just sew by hand. So if you don't have a sewing machine, this is something that you can do with just a needle and thread and your little piece of fabric. And I just basically will not quite center, start doing little, maybe 1/4 inch in and out running stitch. Just in and out. Doesn't have to be, don't worry about drawing a line and making sure it's specific, because this is going to be ruffled. So it's not going to be that noticeable if you're not centered. Don't go too tight. You don't want your stitch too tight, or it's difficult to pull the thread. You're going to pull the thread later to make your ruffle. So now then, just keep going. Just keep sewing, just keep sewing. There we go. All right, so that's easy. Pull it through, pull it through. I didn't tie a knot in it for a reason, so just leave yourself some thread at the bottom there, and then lay it out flat again and go up the other side. Come on, I'm sewing my finger here. This is how I learned how to do a ruffle. Well, I learned usually with a sewing machine. My mother taught me to sew as quite a young girl. At the time, I hated it, and then I grew to be very grateful for the skill. So much so that by the time where I live, home economics classes started in 6th grade. I was already laying and pinning my own patterns and cutting and sewing actual pieces of clothing, skirts, dresses, blouses. And our learner's project in home economics was placemats. Oh my goodness. And I went to the teacher and I said, the skirt that I'm wearing right now, I made it. And she said, oh, that's very nice, Catherine. And I said, well, is there something else I could work on besides placemats? No, I had to make placemats. So, and I believe my mother still has them. So there was, again, a reason why I made placemats instead of a piece of clothing. But the clothing, sewing the clothing, boy, that came in handy, I tell you. When I had my first baby turned out to be 2 babies. I have twins. In 1981, I had twins. And back then, they didn't have all the maternity fashion stores that they have now. And anyone who's had twins knows how big you can get. And my twins were big girls. They were almost 7 pounds each. And I went full term with them. My babies sure do love being in my uterus. They never want to leave. So it actually helped that I knew how to sew, because I bought patterns for maternity tops and slacks, and I simply added more gathering on the front to, I was basically the size of a Coleman tent I was sewing to cover that tummy of mine. Boy, oh boy. Anyhow, so once you've got two lines of a running stitch in, I just didn't bother to cut this. You can cut that if you want, but you're going to just tug on it anyways. So you're just going to pull both ends and make your little ruffle like that. Now I want this to be as big or as wide as, hold on, as there. So what I'm going to do is tie a knot in the one end. And then I'm going to pull this down to that knot. I hope I'm in the center of the camera. Just keep that little ruffle going. Good. There we go. And there we go. Hold on. I'm just going to tie another knot in here. Come on. Oh, you're going to give me a hard time. Nope, you're not going to behave. All right, we have other ways. I'll just lay down my glue first, lay it down, and then it won't matter. Had to make sure that was open. I've never used 3-in-1. I ordered it on Amazon to see what the fuss was about. So far, I feel like I'm using Fabri-Tac. I'll just tell you that. I agree with Nick the Booksmith. She said it looks like Fabri-Tac, it smells like Fabri-Tac, and it works like Fabri-Tac. So it basically seems like it's Fabri-Tac. So I'm just going to, let's see. You along, and then just move your little until you get to the end there. I'm just going to hold that in place, and I'm just going to pull and tuck and pull and tuck until I'm happy with where that is. It's not perfect, but it's cute, and I like that it shows that it was hand sewn. I don't know, it's part of the charm. Now I'm just going to flip this over so you don't see that little knot that I tied in it there. And now that this is glued down, it really doesn't matter that I didn't tie a knot at the other end, because the 3-in-1 is going to hold it in place. There we go. So we'll just take that off. Trim that a little bit more. Now, here's where I always get mad at myself, because I wonder if I put my needle back. I guess I'll know when I rewatch this video. Did I put my needle back into my tomato? I'm not even sure if you can see my tomato. Let me see. Oh, you don't even know what I'm talking about. My pinned tomato. Hopefully I put it back. I always worry about pins here in my studio because my little furry friend comes wandering in and out, and I like to keep track of pins. I don't want them on the floor. So there's my little tulip ruffle. Let's give you a little bit of, seeing as you're sticking out. Cute. Cute. All right, tulips, where do you want this? Did tulips get a, you did get a library card. Maybe I'll just stick you in there, like that. All right. Now you. I think I'm going to put you right there because these are the pages for Halloween. This, if you don't recall, or if you're new and don't know, I'll put the link below to the flip through of this book. This book is, it goes through the 12 months of the year, the 4 seasons of the year for North America, east coast of North America, not east coast, but the eastern time zone of North America. So for October, it has Halloween. You can see the pumpkin in that, and I did some Dick and Jane fussy cutting there. So I'm going to put you there. And I'm going to use, because this feels, I don't know whether it's waxed paper or glassine. feels slippy, so I'm going to use something that's got a little more oomph to it so I know it's going to stay put. I was thinking about maybe making this also a tuck spot in behind in addition to the pocket, but I want it to have some good hold, so I am just gluing down the entire back of this and just putting it here. There we go. Out of the way here. Wonder how I am for time. I don't know, but the door hasn't opened and the dog hasn't started barking, so probably okay. There we go. So now I could tuck something extra in there, like that. Now that's going to get lost inside if I don't put something on there to make it retrievable. I wonder what I should use. Let's see. I'm going to use you. All right, I've got green polka dots there, so let's use some green polka dots here. Oh, don't you hate that? I do this with spools of thread all the time. Where is the end? Oh, for Pete's sake. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. All right, so let's do a small hole. There. And let's do that. Let's put a green. That's top. Okay. Let's find a green eyelet. Thank you. Oh, that's large. I need small. C3, A, B, C, and 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. There we go. Okay, that's cute. Fresh end here. And then I'm going to cute. That's better. So that way it won't get lost down into the bottom. Well, if it does get lost into the bottom, the new journaler can fish it out easier and have a little hidden spot to write about Halloween. We had a windy Halloween up here last night. Oh my goodness. Here's how windy it was. It rained, and then fortunately it stopped in time for all our little trick-or-treaters to come around. We didn't have as many as we've had in years past, but neighborhoods grow older and the children grow up, but sometimes the parents don't move away. And I suspect that's what's happening. Anyhow, by midnight, it sounded like a tornado was going through our neighborhood. The wind was so strong. It was just howling and really loud, and suddenly we could literally hear through our closed windows, because the house was closed up. It was such a bad storm. We could hear a woman screaming, and my husband went racing out the door. And it turns out our neighbor, 3 doors down, had just gotten home from work, pulled into her driveway. It was around 12:30 at night. And she opened her car door to get out, and the wind caught the car door and literally ripped it right off her car. And it scared her, and it yanked her arm, because fortunately it didn't slam it shut on her. It went the opposite direction and wrenched the door right off of her car. And boy, oh boy, that's how bad the storm was. We got up in the morning to see if there was any damage to our house. We had a lot of shingles, fortunately. Well, it's not fortunate for them, but they seem to all been from our neighbors' houses and not from ours. We just put a new roof on our house last year, so we were quite relieved that our little roof held strong, but somebody's didn't, because we picked up quite a few patches of shingles off of our front lawn and our backyard lawn. And we've got a maple tree in the backyard that was hanging on to its leaves. Well, the leaves are gone. Oh, someone's home. Hold on, I'm going to pause. Yep, hubby's home. The grand welcoming, the reunion, the father and child reunion happened. I mean, they've seen each other 7 hours ago, but if you'd think it was weeks. I'm going to find some more places to put this. I will return and report where I put more. I might make a little fabric pocket. We'll see. But we had a little time for crafting. We had a little time for little thrift haul. I'm so happy to be home. If there was a way to hug my studio, I would have done it last night when we got in. I'm happy to go away and have a little trip. But isn't it a nice thing when you're just as happy or even happier to get home? Yeah, I love our little home, and I love our children. All live close to us. All seven of them are very close by with all their families, and we are very, very, very blessed. Anyhow, I'm going to go and give my husband a kiss and sit down and hear about his day. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for stopping and visiting. I'm hoping to do a little video tomorrow. I have I think I have my final Kirby Church book sale tomorrow morning. So maybe I'll have a teeny tiny little book haul if I find anything there, because they're closing for the winter. So I have to go. I just have to. All right, I'm going to go. Speaking of going, I'm going. Bye, everyone. Take care.